Okay, guys, welcome back to What's Not Sports. Now, this will be episode 35 by the time it drops, which will be dropping exclusive on Thursday to YouTube, and then it'll be released on Spotify by Friday. I'm really excited for this podcast episode. It's a fantastic one. I get to sit down with Gotcha4Life Ambassador, and he's also a professional Ironman, has been for the last over a decade and so on. I got to sit down with Ali Day. It was a very special one. We talked about mental health, his struggles, and more importantly, what resources there are, what young athletes, what people can do to help battle their challenges with mental health. So it's a real important listen. I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So please tune in, enjoy the episode. It might be a bit I guess, scratchy, but I hope you enjoy the interview and enjoy, I guess, the second episode of Inside Story. So it's the first one we've had in a very long time, but yeah, it's What's Not Sports Inside Story, and it's mental health in athletes with Ali Day. So please tune in, please enjoy, and I'll see you at the end of the pod.
Yeah, for sure. And
Sweet. Well,
yeah,
thanks very much for joining me, Ali, and
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
I've got you on here today to talk a bit of mental health in athletes. I think it can be your biggest strength, but also almost a bit, not so much a weakness, but a bit of a struggle. And I know I've struggled a bit with it in the past, and I know you've had some tough challenges. Can I just ask you about what has helped you get through those tough challenges and things like that and those roadblocks?
Yeah, that's a really good question, mate. And apologies if I go down so many different paths here and it might sound confusing, but I think at an early age, dealing with things was probably just speaking to my parents, and at the same time just probably bottling things up and not having the right skill set or the knowledge to know what to actually do when I was struggling with things. And then I think you go through the next step or the next process, which, or stage in my life when I was probably, my mid-20s. And I think, sport obviously has been my job, racing as a professional Ironman. So like the coaches that I had around me were probably that's how I'd probably deal with tougher challenges back then, just speaking to them, even though I found that really hard. And around the same time as well, I started seeing like a sports psychologist too, which obviously helps you with your racing, but probably more importantly, she helped me with my life. So like more often than not, we would just talk about what was happening in my life, what was making me happy, what was making me sad, and coming up with, like, as I said before, when I was younger, I didn't have the tools and the tips and tricks, I guess, to know how to deal with them. And I guess you fast forward now to where I am now, 35, married, got 2 kids, and I probably use a whole different range of skills to get me through those sort of tough times. I still use a sports psychologist. I've got an amazing wife. I've got amazing coaches. I'm more open about it now. So I talk to my friends quite a bit. I was only on the phone to my best mate last night about, not some of the challenges that I'm facing, but was probably more some of the challenges that he was sort of facing. So I'm more open to having those conversations now. And I think too, mate, like when I'm dealing with that sort of stuff, I focus on the things that make me a better person. So obviously I love exercise. I love being outdoors. I find that helps me a lot. I love just going for a walk. I love trying to be present with my kids. I love, having a sauna or doing hot cold therapy. I feel like that's really good for my mental health. So, I've probably gone down so many different rabbit holes there, mate. But to be honest, like the older I've got, the better I've got dealt with dealing with my mental health and with certain things. But yeah, that's definitely not to say that something could come up tomorrow and I might not know how to sort of necessarily deal with it. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question, mate.
Yeah, and it does. That was a great answer, great insight. And I want to ask, would you say building a network is something that helps support you through a lot of your mental health struggles and challenges? Is that a big one?
Massive, massively, yeah, massively. I think, like you said, like I haven't spoken to many people about. So I'm honoured to be able to speak about it. But yeah, for sure, I think that's a huge pillar is being able to have a support network around you. And I think I've been really fortunate and blessed with the people that have sort of come into my life. My wife, I've had great parents. I've got great parents. I've got a great brother and sister. I've got two, amazing friends I train with. I feel like sport is such a just a great thing, not for the competing, but for the community of the people that you're around, that provide, whether it's a coach or whether it's a physio or whether it's someone working in allied health, like my sports psychologist, that, they're these people that have been there with me now for, well over like 15 years sort of thing. So I'm very fortunate that I've got great people and I rely really heavily on them. And I know that, that they love nothing more than like seeing me happy and wanting to sort of support me. So yeah, like I've worked really hard to get that in terms of like I've been open, I've been curious, I've asked a lot of questions, I've sought information by, trying to find a sports psychologist and finding the right coach and finding the right people that want to be a part of my team. And yeah, as I said, I wouldn't be where I am today, not results wise, but probably the person and, that feeds into the results without like that support network for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and on that, I feel as an athlete, we might deal with not so much more challenges, but we do have setbacks, but also we have a lot of struggles with a bit of anxiety and
Mm,
things like that. Maybe when it comes to racing or even to your body image. Um,
mm.
can you tell me a bit about if you've had any of experiences like that and what's really helped you mentally overcome that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's, sport is, like I said before, might contradict myself here, but it's definitely a roller coaster, and you
Mm.
spend probably more times than not, as you know, down the bottom of the roller coaster rather than up the top. And whether that's, the training, whether that's the racing, whether it's being injured, whether it's being sick, whether it's, not getting the result, whether it's, there's so many different things, and we're in a sport where, we chose to do it where you're in Mother Nature, right? So there's a lot of things that are outside of your control that can, um, that can really, I guess like make things worse. You have no
Mm.
control over Mother Nature. So I think probably to answer your question, there's been multiple times, mate, but I think if I was to go back to sort of one time, it probably would have been after I got injured back in 2019, where I,
Mm.
famously fell off a set of monkey bars, broke both my wrists, and basically I knew. At the time I thought, oh, it's just going to be physically, really hard to get through, not so much mentally. But it turned the script sort of turned. It turned out to be sort of more mentally tougher than I realised. I felt like the rug or the carpet got pulled from underneath me, and it was basically the first time in my career that I really suffered with anxiety. I felt really embarrassed. I didn't want to go out in public. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to bump into anyone. I didn't want to talk about it. Like I didn't want to talk to too many people, to be honest. Like I sort of really went into my shell. Apart from speaking to like my wife and things like that, it wasn't. It was a time that I, as I said, really struggled with, my image. My ego took a really big hit because I thought, honestly, at that time that that's all I had in my life. There was nothing else to look forward to, and I honestly thought that people would forget me. People would want to talk to me because all they knew me for was being Ali the Ironman, rather than just, Ali the person sort of thing. So there was a whole range of, mental, things that were going on in my head. But that was definitely the first time I suffered from, a depression. And also at the same time, the first time I'd ever experienced like anxiety or a panic attack. I still remember one day, Kel, my wife, driving me to hand therapy, and I wanted to see the beach so bad. And she dropped me off, and I ended up bumping into someone down there. I remember just having a full-blown panic attack. It was like I just finished a 15-minute Ironman race, but my heart was in my throat, and I didn't want to, as I said, I didn't want to really bump into anyone. But I think you asked me, how I sort of dealt with it, and I used obviously my wife a fair bit to talk to, but I sort of went and found professional help. Early on in my career, I was seeing a lady on the Sunshine Coast for my, sports psychology sort of stuff. And I hadn't seen her or spoken to her for 4 or 5 years. And basically a couple of months after, when I hit rock bottom after being injured, I reached out to her again. And slowly but surely, we worked through it. And as I said before, more often than not, we spoke more about just my life and how to make me happy again, rather than we didn't even really talk about racing at all. It was just helped me feel like I was feeling before I got injured, sort of thing. So we did so much work on my self-worth. We did a lot of work on, being grateful. We did a lot of mindfulness work, so a lot of breathing techniques. And just, she completely flipped the script on me, and she helped me so much throughout that time. So I think after I got through that initial sort of phase, that's when I was able to sort of see the silver lining in it all. And as I said before, I've got great people that I was then able to sort of let in, whereas at the start when I was injured, I didn't answer my phone. I didn't want to go out, whereas after being able to see Lisa for a few weeks, I was able to sort of accept people that wanted to actually reach out and help me. So I had that support network there, mate.
Yeah, and you just talked about a little bit how when you had the injury, you didn't really want to talk to anyone or talk about it. And now here you are, you're talking, I guess, about the injury. And I guess what could even be a harder struggle is talking about your struggles. But to someone that might be suffering from whether it is an injury coming back or just a bit of anxiety or depression, similar, not quite what you had, but around that, it is a big help, I guess, and shows that there are ways to have, would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. To be honest, mate, I never thought that I'd be the person that would have struggled, to be honest. I'd recently just got married. I had a beautiful duplex that we'd just renovated. We'd just been in Hawaii. I'd had come off the best racing results of my life. Just all these things to look forward to. I never thought I'd be the person that would struggle with it. You'd often watch other athletes and other, people you looked up to every now and then, sort of, you'd see a snippet on TV or a snippet on social media, but it was very hard to sort of be open and want to speak about it. But I'm so grateful that I had the support network around me, and there was other athletes that were not around a similar time, but there's so much good stuff out there now, mate, in terms of you see, whether it's AFL, whether it's in the NFL, whether it's swimming, whether it's in our sport. I love seeing people come out and actually, be honest and tell people how they're actually feeling. It's not the easiest thing to do, but I feel like it's so much more, I don't ever want to say acceptable, but it's just, it's a thing, and it's a real thing, and people actually do deal with it. And I feel like, unfortunately, people in sport sometimes, they deal with it. They deal with it worse because, I don't know, they just try to be tough like every sports person, should be. But I feel as though that, as I said, that I'm in a position now where I've got a little bit of a name, and, then hopefully being able to do things like this and speak about it, I'm obviously if it can help someone, like why not, sort of thing. So definitely hard at the start, mate. But at the same time, like if one person picks up one thing from how I sort of handled it, or even more so, just gets the confidence to be able to, actually go speak to someone or tell them how they're actually feeling, like, and if that's going to make them feel better, that's like ultimately that's what we all want, right? It's I know we'll speak about Gotcha for Life, but yeah, that stuff's it's bloody sad, mate. Like some of the stories that you hear, and yeah, as I said, a big advocate for trying to help people, and so yeah.
Well, I'm going to flip the script a little bit here, and I'm going to get you to put your Gotcha for Life hat on now, and just look at this through the eyes as someone who's quite aware of the scene of the mental health in athletes and just people. And I'm going to bring up a stat from a research that was done a couple of years ago by the Journal of Science and Medicine and Sport. They did a case study with just over 200 athletes, and it was around mental health, and it found that about 48% of them suffered from at least one symptom or one mental illness. Like, does that stat shock you? Does it surprise you? Do you think it's a fair number? Like, do you think it's higher or lower in the overall world?
I think when you first said it, like I was waiting to hear what the percentage was going to be, and I'm pretty shocked, to be honest. But then when I processed it a little bit more, I can understand why, and it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Of course, that, like as I said before, like anyone that does sport has that heart out of shell, and we're our harshest critics, and sport gives you so many great opportunities, and it develops you so much as a person, but also at the same time it can have some negative impacts on your mental health, for sure. And I know I've experienced it. I'm sure you have as well. And I know that, basically everyone that I've trained with goes through those things on not a daily basis, but like they've been through them before. And so, yeah, looking at that number, mate, it's pretty high. But it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Like with that stuff, it's scary, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. And while I'm talking a bit with you Gotcha for Life hat, how did that all start? How did you become an ambassador with that?
I think a couple of different ways it started. Obviously, it was pretty good timing. It was like a sliding doors moment. It was basically I just got injured around the similar time when I started getting back into racing, about 18 months later, through Shaw and Partners at Earl Evans. He was really good friends with Gus Warland, who's the creator or the founder of Gotcha4Life. I can't even remember how it happened, but basically we just got put in touch together. Earl knew that I had sort of a bit of a story to tell. Gus reached out to me. He was working on the radio at that time with Triple M. I did a couple of, things on the radio together with him. We went to a couple of games of footy together, and he basically just said, mate, would you like to be an ambassador? Which I was like, I just, straight away jumped at the opportunity. I felt really honored and proud to be. And I think it was back in 2000 it would have been 4 or 5 years ago, but I actually had the Gotcha4Life logos on my ski, which was really special. Obviously it wasn't like a sponsorship thing. It was more just like something that, Gus asked me if I wanted to do it, and so did Earl, and I was like, for sure. So there's probably pictures somewhere around that's, I've got the big Gotcha4Life stickers on my had them on my ski, and as said, I've been an ambassador since then. I'm really close with Gus. I love what he's doing, and as I said, I've had the opportunity over the last like 4 or 5 years to get involved with different events. I'm always like supporting. They do a 24-hour row each year in surf clubs. I'm always getting behind that event. I'm a big fan in the rugby league. I go for the Sydney Roosters, and each year they have a Gotcha for Life Cup against the Manly Seagulls, and I've been lucky enough to be at those games over the years as well. So it's pretty cool, mate, that I've had the opportunity. And what's probably more awesome is seeing the other athletes like James Tedesco and Jake Travojevic that are also ambassadors for Gotcha for Life, and how much it means to them and how much it means to basically everyone. Everyone loves Gus. Anyone that comes into contact with him thinks he's just honestly a dead set legend. So, I love what he's doing, and it's bloody inspiring. I remember doing an activity with him last year, actually in Perth, and I remember sitting there, and he was like, everyone pull out your phone, everyone write a message, I love you, to someone right now, but it can't be your wife or your partner. And I remember just some of the work I've done with Gus over the years has been, it's been awesome, to be honest, mate. So, as I said, that's how the Gotcha for Life thing came about. And it's, really proud to sort of be associated with something like that.
Yeah. And I'm going to tie this back to the stat I was just talking to you about earlier. Gotcha for Life has a mountain of incredible resources for people struggling, whether that be an athlete or just someone that isn't an athlete, just going by the day, that is struggling. But with that stat that I said earlier, do you think there's a lot of athletes, or not enough athletes, that know about the help that they can get and the resources maybe through an organization like the Gotcha for Life?
Oh, 100%, mate. Like, as I said, I'm 35 and I know about it. And there's probably a lot of things that I don't know, right? But you only know what you know. And at 24 or a 22 or an 18-year-old or a 28-year-old, it depends on, like they might not know for sure. Like, I know now because I've been through it. And as I said, you only know what you know. I'd hope that, that they've got people, like advising them, like that you can do this or you can do that, or have you looked at this or have you done that sort of thing. But I'm trying to think back to when I was, around your age or maybe a little bit older, and there was a lot of things that, as I said, hopefully that makes sense, like that I didn't know, you know what I mean? That I wasn't paying attention to until basically it hits you in the face, and you have to figure out like what to do or how to do it. It can be pretty challenging sort of thing. So, mate, to answer your question, I'd hope that there's that the demographic is changing, where a lot of younger athletes are starting to, they would know what Gotcha for Life is, or they would know that they could speak to their coach or their teammate, or they could go see a psychologist. But also, I can also see it being, you're 24 years old, you might be a bit embarrassed to say that to your coach that you're struggling. It might not be cool to go speak to someone, sort of thing. That was one of my first things when seeing a sports psychologist. I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. But, once I was sort of put in that chair and sat in front of her and we got talking, it turns out there was probably a little bit more going on than I expected. So, for sure, mate. I hope that, speaking of statistics, I hope that number's higher than what I think it is. It's probably at the same time pretty low, and hopefully, like with things that I'm doing now and the stuff that Gus is doing for Gotcha for Life, like hopefully that number only increases for younger athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. And still on, I guess I want to bring this back a little bit to surf lifesaving. We a lot of the training, you have a lot of banter with your friends and your club mates. And sometimes it can get out of hand without, I guess, people realizing it.
It being,
and it and an athlete might be struggling in another way, and that's just compounding on them. Like, I guess, and we're so full on about probably giving each other crap at training and things. How important is it to just maybe flip the script, like maybe once a week or every couple of weeks, and just check up on your mates and make sure that they didn't take that banter to heart and things like that? And if they do, how you can support them and
Mm.
things like that.
Yeah, it's a massive thing, isn't it? Like I said, like on one side of the scale, you've got, we almost love training because of the banter. Do you know what I mean? We
Yeah,
love it
yeah,
more because of like what we see in the afternoon. You're there with your mates, and then the other side of it is, we take, as athletes, I think sometimes we can take things pretty personal because we've got that competitive nature, and definitely over the years there's been hundreds of times where it's happened to me and I've taken it the wrong way, and I know that person has never meant it, and I've probably done the same too.
yeah,
But yeah, like unfortunately, like it probably, that's the thing. You have no idea how it might affect someone, and you have no idea. And I say it to our guys now at Surfers Paradise Surf Club, and that's because I've been lucky enough to have the right support network and the right people around me. That, hey guys, you have. I'm trying to be a real leader there at the club, and just saying, hey guys, it's awesome to have fun, but such and such, just remember, like, you have no idea what's going on in their personal life at the
yeah,
moment. So, we went away. We went away on a camp. We go away on a camp every year with our club, and I often run a couple of different sort of presentations. And I remember running one last year and just sort of saying, yeah, as I said, like, like what I just sort of emphasized before, you have no idea what Ali's going through or how his day was or what's going on in his life. So just, it's good to have the banter. It's really fun, but just make sure that it doesn't cross the line. And as I said, we've got a really good support network there. And if I see something or hear something, it's having the courage to sort of stand up for it and be like, hey, that's not right. Or,
yeah,
we had an example a couple of weeks ago, where I've seen something, and, I made sure that, that night I came home and messaged the person, just to be like, hey, you had nothing to do with me, but just, hey, you okay? So it's so easily done, and can be so easily fixed by just going and putting your arm around them, or just not even doing that, just going up and saying, hey, how are you? Like, you going okay, sort of thing, or even just, sending some a message. So it is easily fixed, mate. Not fixed, but it can be, excuse me, like rectified pretty
yeah,
quick. And as I said, I train with a great bunch of guys, and I love the banter. But I have seen it a fair bit in sport where it does cross the line, and I think it's important to to be educated on the fact is that not everyone's wired the same, and it's important to make sure that you are bloody, you're checking in on your mates, because that's Gussie's thing with Gotcha4Life.
yeah. And just I was about to ask about that. The biggest thing with Gotcha4Life is, I guess, maybe you're not the person struggling with mental illness, but you never know what the person next to you is and what your mate is. So, like, how important
Mm.
is it to check on that person, just on a friend, just seeing if they are all right, and how you can, I guess,
Mm.
give them a bit of help. You can't solve the problem, but you might be able to help them a little bit after that. Can you talk a bit about that and what, I guess, Gotcha4Life can
Yeah.
support with
Yeah.
that?
Well, they've just got so many great things. Gotcha4Life. If you would, for example, to jump on their website, there's like they talk about, your mental health being mental fitness, actually training it. You know what I mean? So there's things, different activities that you can obviously do on there. But I mean, from a personal experience, we've all had different upbringings and different times in our lives where we've struggled, and everyone handles it differently. But I think for me, like I try to set a goal each week to at least send, like, a couple of people like a text sort of thing that I know that are either going through a bit of a rough time, or have been through a rough time, or even just in general, mate. Like they might not have anything, that you think is wrong with them, and that's the hardest thing with mental health, right? You can't. It's not like an injury with a broken arm. It's, you can't see it, sort of thing. So for me, it's, as I said, I rang my best mate last night, and it doesn't need to be a half an hour phone call, even though it was. It can just be I do a lot of audio messages now, where I just hold down the iPhone and just send them a message and let them know, hey man, this is what I'm doing. Hope you're going well, sort of thing. So I try to set a target each week of, as soon as I think of someone that's in my head, I I try just shoot them a message straight away. And more often than not, like, you know, you hear from them instantly, and they're sort of stoked to hear from you. And, you know, more often than not, they open up about it as well. So it's, that's sort of how I've sort of, that's Gotcha4Life have got some amazing things, what they're doing, that can help you when you get to that point. And definitely, mate, like, you know, like whether it's, you know, I helped a mate this morning with some, you know, with some back exercises because he's hurt his back. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just always trying to give back. Do you know what I mean? What goes around comes around, and I think that's how the world should sort of work. In terms of, you know, you help me, they'll help the next person, that person will help another person. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. And it makes particularly our sporting environment just better. And you know, that's why I love Surf Life Saving so much. It's of course, like, there's a lot of things you'd want better and stuff like that, but it's just I don't think there probably is. I might be biased. I just don't think there's a better sport than, you know, it's pretty awesome in terms of like the community of people that are around you. And I'm sure you'll
such
agree.
a tight knit community compared. Well, you've got all your other great sports like rugby league, union AFL, and they're all, I guess, tightly knit together in their clubs. But I just feel like the whole surf sports community in a whole, you got so many mates from different clubs all over Australia and the world. It's something
it's so cool.
and different. Yeah,
it's so cool.
And I think that could be one of our biggest strengths, helping support each other with mental health and things like that.
Of course. Yeah, I think like, there's been some of my proudest moments have been, you know, not necessarily racing. It's been just like, you know, being in a community, we're actually helping people, doing rescues, giving back, do you know what I mean, to nippers and stuff like that. Like that's what's, you know, as I said, like that's the stuff that fills my cup and actually makes me feel like really good about myself. So
yeah. Well, thanks, Ali, for hopping on and helping me with a bit of uni and the podcast, and helping share awareness around mental health, especially in athletes, as it is such a big struggle at the moment. And thank you for the advice and all of that. It was really great to talk to you.
No, I appreciate it, mate. And what you're doing is awesome. As I said, like, advocating for it, you're a great human being, mate, great athlete. And, you know, I love more than happy to help anyone that's, you know, trying to help other people, if that makes sense. So, mate, all the best. I love being on. It was awesome.
Thanks, Ali.